Okay, welcome everyone to the HSE review. Today we'll be going over some HSE expectations for production leaders and managers. Some of the topics we'll talk about today are included on this slide. I won't go through all the topics right now, but it'll just give you some introduction to what we're doing here today. Okay, so MISs and MXUs. The expectation is that each leader submits one MIS per week. You can submit MIS observations either through the phone app or your computer. There are instructions on how to download the phone app and how to log in. If you've not seen that, you can find those instructions on the Engine Room HSE webpage. But you can either enter the observations through the app or the computer. When you're entering an observation, you should select the routine safety walk as your option for entry, unless you're a senior manager. There's also an entry for a senior manager, but for most team leaders, you should just use the routine safety walk. While you're submitting your observation MXU, there's a category for resolution. And the expectation is that you provide a resolution for your concern. So if you had a concern, maybe there was a spill on the floor, then your resolution would be either you mopped up the spill or you submitted an MXU to have the spill fixed or cleaned up if it's a little bit more than you could do by yourself. After the MXUs are submitted, they're reviewed by HSE and then they're closed in the system once HSE has verified that an action has been submitted. So it might not be that there's a resolution or the concern has been fixed, but if there's an action that's submitted toward the MIS, it's going to be closed in the system. So your MIS may be closed before the actual concern's fixed, depending on the actions for that in the MIS or observation. You should also, if you're calling in, if your resolution is an MXU, it should be entered in our MXU system as a safety. That will escalate it, and you can enter MXUs either by calling 210-951-5510, or you can also submit them through the NSC web address, which is on our screen here. All right, so the next item is our HSE webpage. So to get to the Indianapolis HSE webpage from the Engine Room, you'll go down to the apps that are usually on the bottom of the page. There's quite a few apps usually in this area, but the one you're looking for is the Indianapolis HSE, which you'll see circled in red. It has a heart emblem. So that's our Indianapolis webpage. This is good information for the audit also. If the auditor's asking for specific information, more than likely you'll be able to find that on the Indianapolis HSE webpage. So these are the items that are available on the HSE webpage. So when you get in there, the communication board, it'll look like this, and you'll have all these options available. So as you can see, there's a lot of different specific information here. Next, we'll see monthly inspections and monthly safety topics. So these are two expectations for team leaders: is that you complete with your team you complete a monthly safety topic with your team, and you submit a monthly inspection. You can find both of those on the communication board. You can see I have that highlighted in red, monthly inspection and monthly safety topic. So you would click on the monthly inspection and it would bring you to a screen similar to this. You want to make sure that you enter the information correctly in the HSE safety inspection option. So you put your name, you put the date of the investigation, you'd select your business owner, and then your department. And then you would go through the 25 sections and then be sure to click submit at the bottom, and that would give you credit for the monthly inspection. Similar on the monthly safety topic, you would from the communications board, you would click on the monthly safety topic. It would bring you to this screen. And then after you viewed the monthly safety topic with your team or yourself, then you would click the link, you would put in your name, find your business owner and your department, and then you have to select from the drop-down box what topic you reviewed. So you would select this month's topic and then click submit, and that will give you credit for the month. So you can verify that your topics and inspections have been submitted in the tracker. So again, this is on the communication page. You would click on tracker, then you would click either monthly inspections or monthly inspections or topics. And then you could just verify that your topic was submitted by finding your supervisor or manager, and then your department. And then if there's a 1 next to your department, that indicates that a topic or inspection has been submitted for that department. The next area is medical surveillance. So there's many different needs for medical surveillance. But if you do have employees that require medical surveillance, you will get an email, a meeting invite email from Becky Cargill for your employee, and the topic will be whatever surveillance is needed. So you may need the different types of surveillance that may be needed is audio, vision, respirator, or PIV surveillance. And you'll have the meeting notice will be set up, as I said, from Becky Cargill, and then you'll just need to make sure that you send your employees during that time to have their surveillance completed. If you don't send the employee, then you're gonna get on a weekly list that needs to be updated, and you'll continue to get reminders until that employee gets in for the medical surveillance. The next area is PPE. So we do require safety glasses and safety shoes. There is allowances for those every year in July. July 1, all employees get a subsidy of $150 for safety shoes. There is a schedule there on our screen of when the scheduled dates and locations for the shoe trucks are. You can also use the Lehigh website to order safety shoes and have them delivered to your house. You'll also be able to verify if you're eligible for safety shoes through the Lehigh website. You just put in your employee number, and then it'll verify if you're eligible for safety shoes. We also have prescription safety glass vendors, and employees are eligible for safety glasses every 2 years, and they need to have a current prescription when they apply for their safety glasses. There's several different approved vendors for safety glasses: Heartland, Mocha, and Monroe. And you can get the forms for prescription safety glasses in the medical office. We also have PPE cabinets located in all of our buildings. There's a picture of that on the top of the screen. They're typically just our blue material cabinets, but there's a yellow safety stencil on the cabinet. And you should be able to get earplugs, gloves, different type of gloves, safety glasses. Any of the PPE that's required for your job in that building should be available in the PPE cabinets. Okay, so another area are major hazard areas. So each of our facilities or main facilities and some of the off sites have major hazard restricted areas. The term that has been used in the UK recently is high consequence hazards, HCH. The way we identify it in Indianapolis, a lot of times globally, this may be identified using the high consequence hazards terminology. But in Indianapolis, all of our major hazards are identified with a sign, a red and white sign, and it's just identifies the area as a restricted area, and you have to be trained to enter the area. There's now 2 levels of major hazard training. 1 is general awareness, and 2 is operator maintenance level training. General awareness major hazards training is either provided to new employees or it's provided every 2 years in our general safety class. And it's just for employees who may enter the area. The operator maintenance level training is for employees who would either perform maintenance in the area or they work every day in the area. So in our major hazard area or major hazard areas, we have RPs that are responsible for these areas. And RPs track actions that are open or closed or need to be performed in the areas using a system called simple compliance. So the AP and the RP can go in and identify any actions that are closed or open in simple compliance. And I'm not getting a lot of detail into this just because I'm just giving you guys just kind of a flavor of what it is. Not many people will need to do simple compliance, but there is a system that exists that goes in to track items, measure items for each of our major hazards. Some example of major hazards. This is Victory Building. So we have the AEP area in Victory, we have the thermal spray, we have plating, and then heat treat special processes. And each of these areas have a responsible person. For AEP is Jim Trapp, thermal spray, Salone, Fusion, and then Trapp also has the gas-fired furnaces. The next area is safety training. So you guys are likely familiar with our annual safety training that's required every year for all shop employees. So this is typically an 8-hour class that's performed from our UAW safety trainers, either John Wills or Matt Mann. This year we're changing it up. It's going to be a little different. Half the course is going to be monthly safety topics. So you'll perform your monthly safety topics and then verify that your employees have watched or participated in the monthly safety topic. And then half of that training will come from a classroom-based annual safety training. And it will also be performed by the UAW trainers, John Wills or Matt Mann. In addition to the annual safety training, there's additional trainings that are required based on the areas of responsibility or the areas the employees work. Training may include PIV, lockout, tagout, fall protection, respirator training, CPR, cryogenics, robot safety, or electrical safety. And there could be additional trainings, but those are just a flavor of some of the other trainings in addition to annual safety that are offered. Emergency evacuation, severe weather. This is every building has an emergency evacuation plan. The three that are listed here are just our main buildings, but the offsites also have maps and plans. So what you need to know from these maps are you need to know your assembly points, where to assemble if there's an evacuation, where the severe weather locations are, and then what to do if there's an armed assailant. Our training is to run, hide, and then fight would be the last action if you cannot run or hide. Also, emergency spills are called in using the emergency number, which is 5555. So if there's a fire, evacuation, medical emergency, you would use the 5555 number for that. From an in-house phone, if you're calling from a cell phone, you'd use the 317-230-5555. An emergency spill is classified as a spill that's an unknown substance greater than 5 gallons inside the facility. Any spill outside of our facility should be labeled as an emergency spill on 5555 notified. I also have listed here on this slide are locations in the 3 main buildings of AEDs. So in Victory, you have 4 AEDs, 1 in heat treat special process, 1 at each restroom on the shop floor, and then 1 in the training center lobby. Every facility should have an AED available. So I've included a slide on hand safety as just a review of our policy. Gloves are required for all personnel performing work or handling objects with their hands. So anytime you're performing a task that requires you to use your hands, you should have gloves on unless the gloves provide a greater risk. And this should be captured in a risk assessment. So if the specific task doesn't have a risk assessment that says gloves are not safe to wear while performing that task, then gloves should be utilized. Gloves are available in our HSE cabinets. And again, one of the main reasons we have a slide specific to this is one of our top injuries every year are hand injuries. All right, so this is our risk profiles. Risk profiles are the tools that we use to identify and monitor risk for each building or department. This is an example of the PID probability and impact diagram. And the one that's on your screen here is the Victory Building PID. So you would have building PIDs and then you would have department level PIDs. And this is actually the new format. You may have an older format that just has the probability and impact diagram with your top 5 risks, but this will be the change moving forward where it'll include the diagram and it will monitor the risks that are going on in your area all on the same page. This could be considered your area risk assessment. Okay, moving into our performance. So as of 6/17 this year, we've had 2 TIRs, or recordable incidents, or reportable incidents. There is another that's occurred recently. So current status is that we have 3 TIRs. Incident occurred in the Excellence building, and it was a back strain and rotatives. The other 2 incidents that we've had this year are slip, trips, and falls. We had an employee that was walking out to the turnstile and twisted their ankle. And then we had an employee who was stepping up on a shelf and fell back, lost their balance, fell backwards, and hit their head. So 2 slip, trips, and falls, and then 1 back strain so far this year. And then you can see our performance over the years on the bottom chart. You can see that we've greatly improved since 2018, only having 8 TRIs last year, and then in 2020 we also only had 8. And then you can see as where we sit this year, we are at 3 TRIs. I want to mention that slips, trips, and falls, you can see as of 6/17 was our only incident classification, and it is our number 1 injury classification, total recordables and first aid incidents. We've had 13 minor injuries. These are our first aid injuries as of 6/17/22. 6 of those are in Victory, with 4 of those being manufacturing services, 4 of the 6. And performance, we've had 4 first aids, with 1 of the 4 being manufacturing services. And then Excellence Building has had 3 first aids. But I will highlight again that our number 1 injury, even in first aids, is slip, trips, and falls. Okay, on our communications board in the Indianapolis HSE webpage, there is a link to Chemwatch, which is our SDS system. So if you have employees or you're trying to look up an SDS for a chemical, you'll find that in this system. So when you click into the SDS or the Chemwatch link, you'll get the screen on your right. And you can search in the screen either using the chemical name and looking it up that way, or you can dive down into the actual department to find the chemical you're looking for. And you do that on the bottom by selecting Manifest, USA, Defense, Indianapolis, and then you would select your department number and then find your chemical that way. You can also print out labels from this system. So you would find the chemical you're looking for in Chemwatch, and then right click on the chemical and then select label, and then there's a play button on the label, and you select play once you find the USA label, and you can print out labels, different sizes for different chemicals. I would suggest that if you guys are needing to print out a label, to reach out to your HSE business partner the first few times to walk you through it. Okay, this is something that we should all know about our buildings, like just to know the significant activities that would impact the environment. So these are just the top level things that how your area or your building impacts the environment. And you can see in Victory Building, the top, we have air, water, and waste. And for waste, we have the generation of the metal chips and the coolant. We have AEP solvent, perc degreaser, and then a heat treat special process plating. We have wastewater discharge, and then the chemical hazardous waste. Heat treat special process, we have the paint booth for air emissions, and then we have the stormwater discharge. And then every building has freon use from the HVAC systems. And then OSB, there's a paint booth that impacts the air. And SCO, we have the etch line and wastewater discharge. Performance, we have test cell emissions and Jet A use. Excellence has test cell emissions, boilers, generation of metal chips and coolant, Jet A, and then stormwater discharge. Lift system has solvent cleaning, and Bandit Stator has a paint booth, strip tank, powder coating, and glass bead blasting. So this is just a quick view of what each area or each building has that significantly impacts the environment. Okay, the next item is waste. So waste receptacles. We've introduced the recycling waste receptacle several years ago. So we shouldn't, at this point, there shouldn't be many just general waste containers out on the shop floor. The idea is that we would replace all the general waste containers with the recycling waste style containers. So we would have the recycling option and not just the waste. So if you have these containers, or if you have containers that aren't the recycling waste containers, please reach out to HSE or try to get these eliminated from your areas. The items that can go in the recycling waste, you want to put most everything in the recycling side: cardboard, aluminum cans, paper, and paper bottles. The only thing that needs to go on the waste side is food waste and styrofoam. Everything else can go in the recycling side. Okay, these are some of our measures. These are defense proactive objectives and targets. So these are our high-level measures for defense. And on the leadership side, we are measuring HSE walks and MIS observations. And the measure is the percent of leaders completing monthly HSE walks and weekly MIS observations. We're also tracking simple compliance and the percent of actions that are in on-plan or completed status. We're tracking our HSE alerts and the percent of the alert responses submitted and actions completed to plan. Our HSE audits, we're looking for non-conformances closed within 90 days. So we're expecting all of our NCRs to be closed within 90 days. And then senior leadership, we're tracking the APs attending an AP WebEx. So there's a WebEx that's monthly that APs should be calling into or attending. So those are the defense proactive objectives. These are our more local level Indianapolis objectives. Our injuries, we're looking at a TRI rate of no more than 0.3. We expect that every employee, manager, leader is submitting a MIS observation, one per week. In simple compliance, our RPs have 80% of their actions on plan or in completed status. That we have viewed 100% of our employees have viewed 100% of our safety topics, and 100% of the required classroom training has been completed. And then our environmental measure is net zero. So that's zero carbon by 2030. And that's either by reducing carbon emissions or offset by some other way, like credits. Okay, so I said at the beginning that we will be having our external audit, our BV audit, the week of July 11th. And I just wanted to go through some items that we should look for in our areas that have typically been items in the past during our audits. So general recycling and battery disposal. We want to make sure that we do have items in the recyclable bins that are recyclable and items that are in the waste bins that are general waste, like we're not commingling waste. And then we're also recycling our batteries. If you have aerosol cans, you can have these disposed of by calling in for an MXU, calling an MXU in for a universal waste container. And they'll bring you out a universal waste container and you can dispose of your aerosol can. Liquid drums should be on a containment pallet or a pallet mover. And the yellow pallet movers, you see a lot of those out on the floor. Those are also considered containment. If you have a waste drum and it's full, it should be, once you have the full waste drum, it has to be removed within 3 days after filling. So if you have a waste drum that's full and it has a date on it, you want to make sure we want to make sure to get it out of there within 3 days or it becomes a violation. Eye wash inspections are completed weekly. I know that our medical team is doing these now, but just verify if you have eye washes in your area, to check the tag to make sure that the weekly inspection's been completed. We also don't want to store combustibles in the flammable cabinets. The auditor in the past has spent a lot of time looking through our flammable cabinets. He's looking for cardboard, plastic, anything that's not so much plastic, but cardboard, anything that's combustible shouldn't be in the flammable cabinets. Parking and PIB safety. So we're looking for PIB parking to be in not in blocking aisles or in areas where it shouldn't be, that all of our fork truck operators are wearing their seatbelt and they're performing their daily inspections on the forklift. A big one that we've had, and you'll see because I've got some of the NCRs, the past NCRs in the next couple slides, but ladder storage and use has always been a big one the last several years. Make sure that the ladders are stored properly and correctly. And you'll see from the past NCRs that we've had several ladder NCRs. Just a general PPE, safety glasses and safety shoes should be used while you're out on the shop floor unless you're in an area that doesn't require it. This is just an easy one. We should all be wearing our safety glasses and shoes. Electrical cabinet clearance, the 3-foot clearance in front of all electrical cabinets need to be kept clear. Most areas have the yellow marking on the floor. Should be easy enough to notice that if something's in that area, it needs to be moved. And then just general housekeeping and cleanup. A lot of our equipment still leaks. We have spills. We should have these cleaned up immediately. Also knowing that slip, trips, and falls are our number one injury. We shouldn't leave things on the floor too long that someone could slip and trip and fall from. All right, so just going through the NCR, some of our past NCRs. One special thing to note is that we have transitioned from 18,001 to 45,001, ISO 45,001. So we do have a new health and safety standard. I believe that transition was last year, but it's not 18,001 anymore. It's 45,001. So our NCRs, our 2021 NCRs from last year, we had 4. We had 2 environmental NCRs and we had 2 health and safety NCRs. The 2 environmental NCRs, we had a unlabeled or there was observed that there was a black 55-gallon drum in the test area that was labeled incorrectly. And then in the Excellence building, there was 2 trash containers with no labels with a mix of general trash. So we had commingled waste. We had recyclable materials in the general trash. And the other one was of labeling concern with a 55-gallon drum. And then the 2 health and safety items, there was a leaking furnace that we did not have the correct risk assessment performed. And then numerous ladders were incorrectly stored. So you'll keep that one in mind. You'll see a reoccurring theme there as we move to the 2020 and 2019 NCRs. So these are the top are the 2020 NCRs. We had 2 NCRs in 2020. The top NCR is calibration of magnehelic gauge. This is for the paint booth, the Rotatus paint booth that's actually in the Victory building. The magnehelic gauge calibration was out of date. And then the next one where numerous ladders were observed piled on the floor. Again, not stored correctly in the powerhouse. So another ladder NCR in 2020. And then if we move down to the 2019 NCRs, we had 4 NCRs in 2019. The top one there is the eye wash inspection. Wasn't completed, the weekly eye wash inspection. The next one is a flammable cabinet was not grounded. Flammable cabinets that dispense flammable liquids or materials have to be grounded. So if you have a flammable cabinet, not all flammable cabinets have to be grounded, just the flammable cabinets that dispense flammable material. A 55-gallon drum of used oil was observed outside with no secondary containment. So we had a used oil drum outside building 87 that was not on containment. And then lastly, there was several ladders were observed laying on the floor at Bandit Stater. So again, we've had the last 3 years, we've had 3 ladder-related NCRs. So this is one we definitely want to keep a lookout for to make sure all of our ladders are secured. We did implement a new ladder securing system last year where we have ladder stations on the walls with straps, and that's where all the ladders should be secured. And then lastly, just a reminder, we do have our BV audit coming up the week of July 11th. So if you have questions or ways to get prepared for that, one of the easiest ways is just to perform your monthly safety walks and observations. Go through your monthly inspection, and just verify that you're good on your monthly inspections, and that should prepare you for the audit. If you have specific questions on policies or anything safety related, you'll be able to find all that information on our HSE webpage. So if you just want to log into that and look around, you'll find tons of information on the HSE webpage.